Folks often ask me, what's important that I do when I get to Panama? I mean, I need to learn the language. Is there someplace I can go to learn the culture, or should I travel around the country, or whatever? And basically, what I tell them, all of these things are interesting and they're good things to do. But the most important thing for the entirety of the time that you're here, in fact, regardless of where you go, is flexibility. And I can't stress that enough. One of the problems that we have in this day and age right now, particularly those of us who are, say, over 50, but actually pretty much for everybody, is that change is happening so rapidly. And we have images. We have images of Latin America. We may have images of Panama. We may have images of macho guys running around and all sorts of nonsense and revolutions in the street. And they just don't fit the reality anymore. And one thing that you always hear from people who worked in Panama back in the 80s and the 90s and so forth, people were on the zone or one thing or another, they come back 10, 15, 20 years later, and they're breathless. They can't believe it. Everything's changed. So much has changed. It's stunning. So this is not just true here in Panama. It's true all over the world. But Panama's economic growth has been so dynamic, 4, 5, 6 times faster on an annual basis year after year than is true in North America and Europe, for example, that we're just growing and we're just changing all the time. Panamanians have to work hard at keeping up with the development of their own country. For them, it's as much a surprise as it is for anyone else. No one had predicted this, but it's working. It's coming together beautifully for them. They're very pleased. They're very proud, as they have every reason to be, of what's happening here. But they have to work very hard to keep up with all the changes too. Folks coming in from outside who come in with some sort of image they have in their minds of what a Latin American country is like from 1985 or 1990 or 1995, the last century basically, are just going to be quite surprised. So the critical thing to do is to come in here and be prepared to learn from the day that you arrive. In other words, you've come to discover. You aren't coming to find what you expect to be here. You've come to discover what is here. It's a much easier way to do it. And then when things don't work out and don't look exactly the way you thought it were going to, okay, you can deal with that because you're here to learn. You're a student, so be a student. When you're here for the first year, first couple years, study, so to speak. But it's a nice kind of student life. You get to travel around, talk to people, and look around you. But don't get stuck in this rigid thinking, this is what Latin America is like, this is what Panama is like, this is what foreign nations are like. Forget it. You're out of date. In fact, I've been working all over the world, 40, 50 countries, and I was asked about a country I'd worked in about 10 years ago, and I said, I don't know what to say. I've been gone too long. I know the change has been too great for me. So take advice from somebody who's been through this many times and made mistakes many times in his life. Don't come down expecting something. Come down to learn something, to discover, to look around. Have a good time while you're doing it, and you can make a real home here. It can be very comfortable and very enjoyable if you're flexible enough to come down and open up and learn. That's, I think, the most important thing you can bring down with you is in your head. It's your attitude. It's the way you look at life.